Aaron, how
Very
you doing
important.
today? And where did you learn to do interviews?
Well,
See how I just took
I
over
am
the
coming
interview?
from Salem, Oregon this evening, and a lot of what I've learned I either picked up, but most of it I refined through my work at Autonomy. So I guess part of it's just innate, and the other part is practice.
Well, I think you have good practice at showing up for yourself and trying really hard, and that gets you results, and results get you noticed, and then you end up here on a Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for making it, and you have the floor, sir. It's your meeting.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody to a very special Autonomy Quest. Tonight we're going to be talking with Richard Grove. I have a selection of questions here, not the usual questions. Normally, Autonomy Quest, it is graduates interviewing graduates and talking about their journey through autonomy. But tonight we have something a little special for you. So, um, Richard, uh, I've been a fan of your work since probably about 2008, and I have followed your podcasts. And you were the first person to introduce the trivium to me. And boy, that really helped me in a lot of ways. Uh, but to start us off tonight, what is your earliest experiences with entrepreneurship?
Mm. Um, when I was in first grade, I got signed up for baseball and I joined late. And I remember going to the first practice and it didn't go so well. I kind of felt bad for my dad. I was like, oh, he must be embarrassed right now. But I had a chance to step up. Soon thereafter, we had to do fundraiser for the baseball team because I played for an electric company and they bought the jerseys, but everything else had to be paid for with fundraisers. So here I am in first grade, and the fundraiser that we had to sell, usually it's like, I don't know, candy, magazines, trinkets, stuff like that. They gave us fire extinguishers, baking soda, like in a tube with a nozzle at the top, and you squeeze it and you put on your grease fire or whatever. And I went around and I went door to door in my neighborhood, which was a safe place. Like my grandparents lived within 1,000 feet. It all used to be like family farmland and stuff. So it's like a bunch of, blue collar workers that all knew each other for decades, right? So like my parents let me go through the neighborhood from, good mile up and down the road, door to door to the various farmhouses and stuff. And I did really well because it was a really good pitch. Like most people don't have a fire extinguisher. And this one's baking soda and it's not like pressurized and it'll last forever. So I went through that experience and I did really well. A lot of the other kids didn't even try. And I didn't know that I had taught myself the secret of knocking on doors. But that would come like, I don't know, maybe 15 years later, I found out how valuable that skill was. So then, eventually we sold school fundraisers, magazines and stuff like that. There was like chocolate pretzels they would sell. I wouldn't go door to door with the pretzels, but the magazines I would. And I'd get people, better homes and gardens or whatever, and it gets the fundraisers. And there's usually some like, backpack or something you can win if you get so many sales, right? And so I'd try to like get the prizes that were cool. And then I rolled that next into grass mowing, snow plowing, because we had a lawn tractor with a plow, and then we did our driveway. So I can do the neighbors, and I could do shoveling snow. But the grass mowing, I did a lot of that because riding mower, Walkman had come out, man. So I could listen to like whatever the new cassette was at the mall and go mow some grass and buy some more cassettes. And then later it was like how I had access to buy CDs and stuff like that. So, yeah, I didn't grow up rich. I didn't have a trust fund or anything. So I learned early blue collar work ethic and learning how to go out and make an offer. If there's older people in a neighborhood and you see snow in their driveway, give them an offer. And if they can't pay, maybe do it for free. And that builds goodwill in the community. So I hope that answers your question in a way that satisfies the inquiry.
Very much, very much. Um, like I had mentioned, I was interested in your work. I remember working in a bike shop listening to Peace Revolution. And, uh, how, um, when did you start getting into research and for forensic history?
That's a good question. So, anyone who doesn't know my previous work, I have the Peace Revolution podcast, which went from 2009 to 2018. I had a podcast before that called 9/11 Synchronicity. It's all about 9/11. But the Peace Revolution podcast was about the globalists, the New World Order, all the history associated with they, them, those who could easily be named. And a lot of the episodes are very comprehensive and they preserve evidence for people now and into the future. And so I got into, I wouldn't call it forensic history until I learned about Mark Lombardi. But I started reading probably about 2002, 2003, got really interested. By 2004, 5, and 6, I was actively collecting specific books for specific quotes and artifacts of evidence of these people talking about it in their own terms. It was probably 2003 when I discovered the work of Mark Lombardi. So I had a bunch of like note cards and like diagrams I had drawn out. My buddy comes over and he's like, "Hey, I just saw an art exhibit in New York, and the guy's murals look kind of like what you're doing here." He said you would think it's like art, and then you walk up and it's a bunch of data. It's like, Walker, H.W. Bush, and Bin Laden, and the Saudis doing business way before 9/11. These sort of things. And I said, I want to meet him. Where's he at? He's like, "Oh, he died." I said, "How'd he die?" He said, "Suicide." I said, "Where's his work?" He's like, "Well, it's sequestered in these two different museums." And then I eventually got the book Global Networks, which was published by the Judith Rothschild Foundation. And I didn't know what that meant back then, if it meant anything at all. And then later I started using software. So I started using the brain software. And that's where I would say my forensic history really picked up. It's one thing to read these books and get the quotes. It's another thing to start connecting them together and learning like the history and evolution of various institutions and movements, and who did what, where, and what consequences did it have. So anyway, it's hard to nail it down. But at one point, like all I was doing was researching and reading for specific things to get, specific quotes that people have said over the years, or to get the background of research of other muckrakers who had been there before me and left a trail. Like there's a great muckraker type of author from the 40s and 50s called Porter Sargent. And if you look at his, like Gatto found these guys, back in the day, there's guys in the 20s and 30s and 40s that were pointing out this type of British infiltration of our culture to change the American history more to be like we could get back together. And so I think that inspired people like Gatto later to do the work they did. So forensic history, I'm not interested in studying history just for studying history. I have been interested in studying history and collecting artifacts of the crimes, the major crimes against humanity, especially the ones that precipitate down to tyranny and fascism and these sort of things today. So it became very focused. And, from that research, you do all that input and processing. If you don't start to output it with active literacy skills, you're going to lose it. So it's like you have to find it. That's the hard part. Internalize it, process it. That's not so bad. But then you have to like make a podcast, make a documentary, make a video series, live stream. You got to do something to share it with other people. Otherwise, it's kind of lost. Like you can't use all the data that you internalize. So it became about how can I take these best samples of evidence on a topic and then organize them in conceptual art, much the same like Mark Lombardi did, but his are just pencil drawings, right? I wanted to have something that was interactive, dynamic, linked up to the internet, shareable with people, and use these types of pieces of research as the basis for the podcasts and the various video series and documentaries we've done over the years.
Awesome. Yeah. I remember learning from the brain from you and applying it to a few things I was working on at the time, and it was very beneficial to have that level of organization.
Yeah,
Um,
anyone here can get it. It's thebrain.com. It's called the personal brain or something like that. You get it for free. You build your model. You build a model that's valuable to other people. You can sell it, and you need a professional license from personal brain people to do that. But I've always found you need it to share it online too. So there is a reason for their pro license, but most people I know just use it for free. They organize projects, they organize trips and like vacations. They organize like household procedures. So about you can just Infinite things you could do with the brain.
I used it for managing PDFs at the bike shop for all the fiddly bits for
Yeah,
bikes
how do
so
you
that the
find
younger mechanics.
yeah, how do you
Yeah.
find the information for the time when you need to fix the thing? That's the usefulness of software sometimes when it works.
So, how did you learn your skills for media and to deliver your work? You mentioned the podcasts, and I know you've done interviews. Where did you learn that?
I made it all up, dude. I have no official training. I have no certifications, no license, no university or high school background in these things. Though we did have to make like a VHS video project in high school for mass media class that I took for like one semester. Um, I, it was a spoof on a bunch of different commercials from back then. And I did film my brother's hockey games when he was like second, third, fourth, fifth grade. So up to like maybe sixth grade, I was tripod, VHS camera, put the tape in, up and down the ice. So those are like my precursors to knowing how to use a camera or microphones. Oh, my parents had CBs when I was a kid, so like Breaker 19, but that's all the media training I really had. When I got to the point of like making the podcast, I had already made Project Constellation, which was a message to like media hosts and people who had a platform that might take whistleblower information and investigate. And it wasn't about me. It was like AIG and Kroll, go get them. Go get the. There's the globalists. They did the thing. Go get them. But if there's no authority to go to, if the authorities did it, and you find out there's no one to go to, then you got to send out like your Hail Marys. So I must have sent out, 50, 75, 100 packages, express overnight, very important looking stuff. Here's the story. And I knew people wouldn't read it. So I recorded it on two audio CDs. So the original Project Constellation, two audio CDs. So I figured someone could put it in a player and they just listen to it and they would internalize and they would be like, "Oh my goodness, Kroll and AIG and Marsha McLennan, and it wasn't the guys with the hijacker with the box cutters, right?" That never happened. So I knew how to audio record. Step one. Later, I found a piece of software called Audacity. Chop chop. Now I can edit recordings. And then I heard about this thing called podcasting. I didn't know about Adam Curtis. I didn't know he was the podfather. I was just looking for like, how do I put more message out on internet? Because there was no YouTube. There was like Google videos, right? I didn't know how to make video. That was complicated. I didn't know how to do that yet. But I got to the point where I could record stuff and edit it. That turned into 9/11 synchronicity, which I think turned out pretty well. It's got a lot of production value to it, and it has a feel and a vibe. Like every episode of what I make is like a work of art. So each one is a totally contained idea with emotional feel and like media clips and historical documentary clips intersecting. Um, from there, probably 2008 when I made the history blueprint. So I started this model in 2008 and now has 10,000 thoughts and 50,000 references. So average of like 5 references per entry. And I was heavy into 9/11 research. And there was a documentary called, what's it called? It was by Richard Siegel, and it was 9/11 from across the river. And he did a bunch of analysis of things that went on in the video and the things that went on in the audio. And I started to wonder, like, how do I edit the video part? Like, how do I be able to do that? Um, and then video software was not free back then. You had to have licenses. There were DVDs. There were crack codes. There was a whole bunch of ways to skin that cat. My friend Paul Verge sent me some license number on a DVD. I don't know how it worked or if that's incriminating. Statute limitations is on that. Anyway, I learned to edit with some bootleg software, and I started making documentary films like before I even had a camera or knew how to narrate into the film. So I made Anthology of American Apathy in the 21st Century, which was like 7 hours, and then I made The War Against Us All, which is like 2 hours, and then I made what's the other one for the Toronto Film Festival? I don't know. I forget. It's been 20 years, but I'll find it. I have the masters over here in a box someplace. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna have to remember that one. So anyway, I made some films, and then I went back to podcasting and started Peace Revolution. because I was done with the 9/11 topic and I'd found the globalists. So I was like, this is the history, like tragedy and hope stuff. Like we need to get into that and figure that all out. And along the way, episode 28 or 29, diamonds, the jewel of denial. You find out that there's certain scams going on and that they tie back to the same people taking us over. Like the Cecil Rhodes cult all this scheming going on with diamonds and marriages and 130 your income, whatever the thing is, right? So I started, growing an audience because people found that to be interesting. And in some cases, like, it saves you unnecessary expense and concern because it starts out with, have you ever tried to sell a diamond? That was the Edward J. Epstein paper that led to his book that exposed the whole diamond cartel. And he's the one that inspired the term conspiracy theory because he wrote Inquest right after JFK got killed. He was Gatto's roommate. So there's a whole bunch of synergy that you pick up on that you wouldn't have picked up on if you weren't like looking into the things. So I learned about Gatto, John Taylor Gatto, New York School's Teacher of the Year for the city and the state. And probably by 2010, he was on my radar of I need to get in front of him with a camera, lights, good audio, because none of his videos have any of that. And that took about 2 years to get done. And then from there, I started doing bigger interviews after I did the Ultimate History lesson. And we did State of Mind, The Psychology of Control feature documentary in 2013. But the power of filling that void that I encountered, as far as like there's no authority, New York Times isn't going to print it. So being able to put quality film cameras, lights, audio in front of whistleblowers like Bill Binney, right? Or like Hector Boreas or um, Staff Sergeant, what was the guy's name? Bryce Lockwood, the only Marine to survive the USS Liberty attack. And he worked in the signals intelligence group. So he was a linguist. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on with air traffic and radio traffic that day. Anyway, being able to get cameras in front of those people. In Benny's case, got him a documentary with Oliver Stone. In Hector's case, got him an Amazon series called The Last Narc. And the guys who survived USS Liberty, they have more press today and more people know about it today than in the past 50 years. So the democratization of technology really leveled the playing field, and you didn't have to be a Hollywood studio. Like, in order to counter their propaganda, you would need like assemblage of like studio and lights and all that stuff. When it became like, affordable for individuals to start doing that stuff, in the 21st century, things really started to shift faster and faster. And the amount of freedom related content, which didn't exist really 20 years ago, with the exception of Bill Cooper and Alex Jones, I mean, there's a whole rumble today going on just because of that. So, yeah. Did that over answer your question?
Uh,
I was
yes.
on mute the whole time. What?
Well, if you could, over the 20 years, things have changed a lot, technology. And like you said, the New York Times wasn't going to print it. I'm sure CNN wasn't knocking on your door to, get the rights to show it on their station. So what were the challenges to introducing your work and publications outside of the the general narrative and the public at the time?
We had, I think the distribution was legit back then. So the challenge was getting more stuff out to the internet because, people would pass it around and I would get a lot of interest and feedback. And then probably 10 years ago, I said or did something that got me throttled in a variety of places, including Twitter. I used Grok, Twitter's AI, to analyze how I was being throttled on X. It gave me this whole report. And so I sent it to customer service and I'm like, hey, your Grok just narked on you guys and says like, I just want free speech. Just distribute to people who subscribe to me because, I might have 15,000 followers, but only like 10 people see what I post. So I don't get upset about that stuff because I've never made my success from like YouTube or Twitter or any of that type of social media stuff. It's like you use that to put free stuff out so people can see, and then you deliver value someplace else where they can't censor you. And that's the value that you need. The stuff that they won't let you talk about on those places might be life-saving information for you or your family, you know? So I've never I just let them do what they do. You want to throttle the message, I'll go put it out on Odyssey or Rumble or Rockfin. They gave birth to competition. YouTube used to have a big monopoly and no challengers. Go start your own YouTube, they said. Well, people did. And then there's more freedom. And I know everybody that I work with, all my colleagues, they self-censor on YouTube, and I just don't publish anything that's like not censored on my YouTube channel. We have a bootleg channel. We have and there's a pirate channel, they call it. That was Corbett and Ryan Christian that came up with that idea, but it's a burner account. So there's a Cecil Rhodes YouTube page. It's been going for Grand Theft World for like a year. No censorship. They just stopped caring. But if I put any of that stuff on my YouTube page, persona non grata right away. So distribution was easier back in the day, and now you have to be more savvy about it. But you don't need millions of people to hear it. You just need a couple people to hear it that take it seriously and can tell two other people and convey the message, right? And once people see that there's something valid there to be looked into, not something to be scoffed at and said that's conspiracy theory, people like myself, like I got into this because I was incredulous. I said, there's no way that there's an international banking family that has operated for several hundred years, basically playing all these sides against another. There's no way because I worked in New York on Wall Street. I know the banking industry. I went to college. I have a diploma. Those are crazy things that you're talking about. Except Carol Quigley tells you about it on page 50 and 52. And then when you check his stuff, man, I have 40 or 50 biographies and autobiographies by the Rothschild families themselves. The people over the ages wrote stuff and they put it in books. And so it's like, there's a bigger picture that they're not talking about. And I think the part they're not talking about is more valuable than the part they're talking about. And so it's been advantageous and it's been edifying for the audience. It's been advantageous to me to answer these questions. And I figure if I have the incredulity and I got over it, other people can too.
Excellent. Richard, thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah, there's a lot there. I've been following you, and there's some nuggets in there that I wasn't even aware of about you. Um, I am curious, over the years, during all of that time when you're working on these projects and you're trying to figure out solutions to issues and get your message out there, um, what is the best piece of advice that you were given um, over the years?
I had someone come to me in like 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. And he's a supporter of mine. He listens to my stuff. He lived in the same state and he was like he's like a mortgage broker or something. He was very well off. Let me put it this way. He lives in a very expensive part of Connecticut that when we made the ultimate history lesson, he hosted a screening for 50 of his like wealthy friends down at his place. And we did this whole screening. And so it was after that and he said to me, he came to my house, complained that we didn't have chopsticks for the Chinese food. And he said, Rich, I'd like to support you more, but I've bought everything that you have to offer. What do I do? Right? Like he had supported the ultimate history lesson. He gives $15 a month for the community. What else and he made me realize I need to encapsulate larger amounts of value because as life goes on, and I became a dad a couple years later, as life goes on, it's harder to pay for things at $15 a pop. Like how much marketing I have to do to get one person to subscribe. I needed to encapsulate larger amounts of value. And thankfully, I had mountains of raw material value that I could just process and, structure in a way to pass on that knowledge, understanding, and wisdom to others systematically, effortlessly, that had taken me a long time of trial and error in some cases to gain. The entrepreneur skills that, started with selling fundraisers got professional and in college while I was trying to pay for college. And then I put those to work in the open market and the return on investment that I had from, the 5 grand I borrowed to get the skills was 200, 200 times in the first 5 years. And then over a lifetime, over the past 30 years, it's like 400 times return on investment. And had I not seen that opportunity and taken it up to get the skills to, hire, fire, make bids, negotiate, close deals, do advertising, do marketing, do customer service, production, picking up supplies, all the things that need to be done to run a business. If I didn't learn that and reapply it to the software industry, man, I don't know where I'd be painting houses. If I didn't learn the skills in the first place, I might be still in the fry cook section of Taco Express. That was my first job when I was 16, 15 actually. I got picked up by my parents to get home after school. All right, so does that answer your question, Aaron?
Yeah, very much. Thank you. Um, well, let's. I'm curious. You've been doing a lot of amazing work building your own future. Um, but is there a part of you that if um, would you, is there another profession that has interested you? And if you could pick just, you know, a career that you could have done, what would you have liked to do?
Uh, uh, do I have to pick something other than what I'm doing? Because like the idea of going and doing something that's not me telling myself what to do, I don't need that. I don't want that. I'm not interested. So I don't know. Once upon a time, to answer your question, I was going to be a lawyer or doctor because that was the upward mobility, cash flow multiplied by your aptitude that I was looking for. My mom was a nurse. I found out how healthcare worked and didn't work. Like basically, the insurance companies made the decisions on for doctors how to treat their patients. So I was like, med school's out. Going to focus on law school. I took the pre LSAT, right? Not the law school admission test. There's a like practice test, right? I took a practice test. I scored in 99th percentile. Scored like 171 out of 172, and the percentiles are based on the people you're testing with at that time, right? So I could have gone to law school pretty much anywhere I wanted. But then I learned a little too much about lawyering. I knew a lawyer in my town who was just working, just like in law school, working in the district attorney's office. It's a sad case. Family's driving home. Guy with a new Mercedes S500 convertible leaves the bar a little too tipsy. He's coming down the other way. He hits the center of the road. He goes airborne. He like decapitates one of them. The other one's a quadriplegic. The dad's left with like a maimed, like mangled family. And that dude bought his way out. He flew in Mercedes engineers from Germany to say that the car didn't perform, like the controls didn't work or whatever they made up, right? The district attorney knew about that. And because he's the richest dude in the area, like now later he was killed in South America. Someone didn't like what he did and got away with at some point in his life. I'm not saying it was related to that accident because I certainly don't think it was, but you know, so that type of thing soured me on being a lawyer. And it was right about then that I picked up these skills, knowing how to knock on a door. We did home renovations and exterior, interior painting and sidewalks and pressure washing. We did a whole bunch of stuff. And it was a franchise created by the former vice president of sales for Xerox North America, and he couldn't find qualified salespeople coming out of college. So he created a system to serve people by teaching ethical sales, and it was all based on a report card system. You had to get A's on everything, right? And once I figured that out, I was like, okay, so you design the whole job back from straight A report card, and you tell the client, I don't take any money until we're done with the job, and you give us straight A's, we don't leave. So then I got paid, and I got perfect customer satisfaction, and none of my colleagues had figured that out. And then I figured out, airless spraying, high, HVLP, special nozzles for the pressure washer. So I was able to cut my production costs down, increase my quality of service, decrease the time we were on site, and I could underbid other people who had to brush it on, right? 3 coats. Because if you're changing aluminum siding with a brush, it's going to take you a while, but I can cover it with any color over with 1 coat with a sprayer. So I outlearned the system they taught me, and that made me super successful. And then I just played that into when I was in corporate work. It's like everyone's here at this level, then you work up here. You think up here, right? You're not trying to be with the herd. So innovating new ways to get things done on a more regular basis, down to like making my own conversation sheets. They didn't give them to us at work, so I'd make my own. Like, what are the things I need? Oh, I'm looking for the database administrator, and then what is the thing that takes up most of your time? Oh, looking up this thing. What if you had a piece of software that does that? I wish I did. Do you know about Irwin? ERWIN was the first software I sold. So, entity relationship diagramming for Windows, which this is an entity relationship diagram. And that's what Mark Lombardi was doing. He was mapping entities and relationships. So, yeah, I learned a lot over the years. Because it sticks, I can apply it all to other things and make things better. Does that answer your question, though?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
As an entrepreneur myself, I definitely, can't imagine another profession other than one that I'm in. I'm in the driver's seat with. So,
I mean, I've done both. I mean, I started out as a paycheck, and then I became, well, no, technically I started out on 100% commission selling those fire extinguishers. And then I went to like make an offer, 50 bucks for the driveway, right? And then it went to I washed cars, I detailed cars. I used to make, this is 1991. I make 250 bucks for detailing cars and get referrals from people. Because if you know how to make it look like it's supposed to, people were like, that is valuable. So I did that. Didn't want to do it for a career, but I also didn't want to pay other people to do it for me. So I learned how to do a bunch of different stuff. Later, after I learned how to use film cameras and stuff, I had not a business, but I would take money for doing things. And you could find me on the internet. So I don't know what you call that. It's not a business. It wasn't very intentional. But, I filmed a lot of bands. So, setting up in a bar and trying to handle the sound and all that other stuff. Um, did a lot of it one man. So I would just go there. I'd wear the steady cam all night. I'd set the other cameras up on tripods. And then I'd be like, following around doing the thing. And I would do that to buy new equipment, which I would roll into my own work. So if I've done anything over the past 20 years, it was like, I want to buy a jib crane for the cameras. Let me go film a wedding. Or, buy a new cinema camera. That's also like film a wedding type price. But once you know how to pick up money in 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 or $10,000 chunks, then you're like, what other skills allow me to do stuff like this? And that's where I got into, the enterprise corporate sales, dealing with CFOs and CEOs and millions of dollars of quota and good stuff like that. So those millions of dollars of quota, by the way, that salespeople know how to bring in, that pays everyone else's paycheck. That's how, like, people are like, I'm not interested in sales. You interested in your paycheck? Because that's how you get paid. And if you don't understand that, how can you contribute to the company staying in business? Because everybody's in sales. Everybody's in sales. That's how you get paid in a company, and that's, a popular CEO type of philosophy for their employees. You might think you're in marketing, but you're in sales. You might think you're in human resources, but you're in sales, because if you're not there, contributing to the things that actually keep the company afloat, it's like it's dead wood. You got to get rid of it.
that's one of the biggest things you help me reframe. For
Ah, that's a
me,
good that's a good
sales.
pun. Dead wood and reframe. See?
Yeah. I always had sales as pejorative, and after my first season of autonomy, I'll never have that view again. I mean, there are definitely folks out there who do it high pressure, in a way that I don't agree with, but what I learned from you really changed the way I see it. And I actually had to go to a buddy of mine who's in sales and kind of, you know, get right with him and just say, hey, I now see what you do in a different way, and sorry if maybe I derided you and
Yeah, I
teased
mean,
you
and
about your profession.
for me, it was easy because I didn't have a lot of bad examples of like how not to do it, other than TV. Right? TVs always make salespeople like cringy and stuff like that. But the way that Neil Bradley, the guy who created the entrepreneur company that I joined back then, the way he taught it was, you guys aren't going to walk up to a house that doesn't need your help. And if you walk up to a house and it's all peeling and stuff like that, obviously the person knows that their house looks like that. They just don't know how to fix it. They're waiting on you to knock on the door and make them an offer they can't refuse. And we could do it less than any other painter because we had like centralized insurance for everybody. So like they cut the overhead. Like there's 50,000 college students in that system across North America, including Canada. So like they had some centralized payroll, the stuff that's hard to work out, the insurance, right? And so if you pay the franchise, I don't know, at the beginning, I had to pay them like 21% or 27% overhead. But as you had milestones, the overhead went way down. So we would all race every summer to be like, who can blow out the milestones first and start getting like the good money. And then once, you work out systems to do that, because it's all just like a puzzle, right? So I'll just be playing with the puzzle, figuring out how to make it work. And then graduating and shifting into like just seeing how other people sit on ESPN all day on their computer instead of making calls, cold calls to find new clients that you can help. I'm like, well, dude, you can do this at home. What, like, you think you're getting paid without doing like the commission thing is a real thing, but we had salary too. It's so that makes some people coast, right? And so anyway, you learn all the things, but when it gets down to it, the ethics of problem solving is a real thing. And if you think sales is other than service, then shame on you, because really, like goals equal growth, right? Those are equivalent words, right? Sales is service. You're not solving problems. You're not making problems to solve for other people. They already have the problem or they seek the result, and you're simply introducing yourself as like the next step they could take to resolve it. Or you can have the leaky pipe or the peeling paint or whatever. Like you can keep it like that. You just now have choice. You didn't have choice when no one's coming up and offering to help you with the thing that you can't do for yourself, right?
Mhm.
So I found it very easy. Hey, how you doing? I'm here. State your business. I'm working in the neighborhood. We were walking around. We noticed that, and she might say, I don't have money to paint my house, which is why it looks like that. Makes a lot of sense, right? And other painters would be like, have a nice day because you don't have money. But I might see the marketing benefit or the training benefit. I need a house to train some new painters on, right? We're going to have this, this, and this. And for that, we'll be able to lower the price for you. Or you're on a corner lot. I'm going to put a sign on each side and we'll repaint your porch for free and we'll get some marketing out of it and you'll get like your porch painted and the boards replaced that were rotted, you know? Um, Caulking, we did caulk because people don't know how to take care of their stuff, and once you learn how to do that, if you got it on the truck and you can do favors, right? But you can still be
Mhm.
profitable the whole time while you're providing service beyond expectations and above their satisfaction level. There's still plenty of room for profit and nobody's getting ripped off. That's what takes a couple extra steps of work that I'm never willing to compromise on, because those two steps of work that it takes are the legitimate aspect and everything else is like the cringe, push, persuade, do it now before you can think of it. It's nonsense. So once you understand nonsense, you just learn to not entertain it anymore and do it right the first time.
All right. Um, I want to shift gears just a little bit. And recently you spoke, did a presentation that fear is optional. And I encourage people to check that out if they can. But I'm curious, we all have fears. What is your biggest fear?
Oh, I got meta fears at this point. Fears about fears. Ooh. Um, Learning to deal with them as they come up. It's a lot easier than having to like parse through a big inventory. So it takes time and it's a super marathon, not a sprint. So, if a mouse runs across the room and you're like, oh, like maybe, that's not something to like react like that to. So maybe you have a poor relationship with like that situation. Um, there's fears that exist because your freedom's being threatened and your fear's there to guard it, right? Those are legitimate. You don't want to stifle those. You want to pay attention to those and protect yourself from those elements. But the other stuff, like if you catch yourself like all emotionally caught up in some news story, I'd stop and ask why. Is it because of the people in the news story? Because that could be legit. But if it's because of the music or the tone or the scripting or the B-roll or the cut to Glenn Beck getting the Vicks under his eyes so he can get all teary-eyed. He loves America, right? Like that nonsense needs to go. Anything that's not genuine and authentic needs to go to the dumpster. And I think society is at a point where they're starting to make better choices about such things and not tolerate so much garbage in their situations.
Yeah. The beginning of last
I
season,
also have a
we got
T-shirt.
this.
I just realized I have a T-shirt on. It says not garbage, just a patriot. Just so happens. Maybe that's the subconscious at work.
The beginning of last season, we got to see a genuine, authentic side of you when you introduced us to your beautiful tenor voice.
Jeez, is it tenor? This is the
I'm
first I've heard of that.
I'm curious. After doing karaoke, do you have a go-to karaoke song?
No, I have many. I could see part of the coolness that I discovered was the kind of like roulette wheel of it or the slot machine aspect of it. You see, last year at the Porcupine Freedom Festival in New Hampshire, when we were hooking up the PA system and it hooked up to Bluetooth, and then I said to the guys, I bet we could do karaoke on here. And then James and Carlos and Phoenix and other graduates just started doing karaoke like they do it all the time. And this is very scary to me. I've spent 50 good years being super fearful of like sing. That would be horrifying. I would make excuses or pay, I'll donate 10 grand to your favorite charity not to have to do that. Thank you. But there was no way out. And so I decided to face that fear. And we had such fun. So basically, it's like somebody would sing a song and then you would try to follow them. We did that. Follow me karaoke, we called it. We made it up. I don't know if that's a real thing. And then we also noticed at the end of the song, it would give you like 8 options. So now you've got 8 options. You got to pick one. And after you've sung a couple of those songs, it gets down to the ones you can't sing. And those are the most fun sometimes because, there was one Cordner did Hey Man, Nice Shot by Filter. You'll blow your voice for the whole week if you do that. And he kind of did, but he did it. And I was like, I'm tapping out. You win. And then Rob did Black Sabbath, crazy. I don't know what he's doing, but I was like, I can't do that one. So every now and then you got to tap out. But the other ones, you know, Dobie Gray, there was a whole bunch of Gordon Lightwood. There was a whole bunch. So songs I knew, I know the words, I've heard them hundreds of times, but then trying to like make the voice do the thing, that's challenging. And it brings a smile to your face, not a frown, and it alleviates pressure and anxiety and whatever else is going on because you can't pay attention to that. You're trying to like get in the moment, get in the groove. Stone Temple Pilots. I tried a Nine Inch Nails song one time. That didn't go well. STP, fine. Pearl Jam, fine. I could do almost any of those songs in the catalog. Nirvana, super challenging, and there is evidence of that. I saw they had a Nirvana reunion recently. I got excited and clicked, and it was awful. And I said to myself, I bet I can go over to the karaoke and make noises that are more pleasant than what I just heard. So I wrote down the set list. By the way, one of those is his song "School." Wouldn't you believe it? No recess. Like the whole song is just that repeated. So anyway, I did that. I'm not saying it sounded good because no one sounds like Kurt Cobain, but it was better than the reunion. And, it was fun. I had a fun time. I'm not going to be doing that at Pork Fest. I don't need to do Nirvana there when I have so many other fine songs in my catalog, but fine songs means people don't throw stuff at me when I do them. That's all that means. So, does that answer your question?
Yes,
Or do
thank
you
you
need to
very
know more? When
much.
are we going to see you sing karaoke? That's the question.
We'll see. We'll see. I would do Lean on Me. That's always a good one.
See, there's a whole bunch of good stuff.
No.
Benny King or I did Dock of the Bay, Otis Redding. There's Sam
That's a
Cooke.
great
There's lots of great ones. I did Traffic's Hey Mr. Dear Mr. Fantasy. And it came on. I was like, I'll try it. I don't think I can do it. And I was like, oh, that wasn't so bad afterwards. So I'm not trying to be pro singer. I got my day job and my other things to do and hang out with my family. And 20 minutes of time. You got a hole in your schedule. Someone didn't show up for something. Go cut loose, get back to it. It's hard to get uptight and nervous after you just went out there and belted out like some Leonard Skinner songs or something. So yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
workout.
Excellent. Excellent.
Hmm.
Um, Richard, what kind of things excite you creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I like when people learn. I like when I learn. I like when I learn new things and you feel like, oh, I just did that. And it's not so frustrating and not so obstacle ridden because you just navigated that thing. And I think that life doesn't happen all at once. So it is kind of built in that we can, it's like a couple things might happen to you at a time, but most of it's just one thing. And you have a choice not in what happens so much. You have a choice in what you do, but as far as what happens, you don't have a choice uh, other than to react, which is what most do. Or if you're really savvy, you can learn how to thoughtfully respond more and more. Like you might have reaction, reaction, reaction. Oh, I caught that reaction. I had a thoughtful response. I didn't yell at that paper boy who threw the paper into the bird bath, right? Um, reaction, reaction, thoughtful response. The more thoughtful responses you can bake in there, the better you're going to be over time at just having thoughtful responses. If something unexpected happens, it doesn't behoove you to be surprised or deer in the headlights or like frozen. It behooves you to say, oh, that's unusual. What is that? What do I need to do? What's going on? Like all these questions put your brain into action instead of being like, we're in fear. So learning how to like shift, like recognize that gear, that's you not in gear. You got to push the clutch and put it. Doesn't translate to half the people anymore either. They can't drive standard. I'm going to have to make new updated metaphors.
Real
Anyway,
cars don't shift themselves.
real cars don't drive themselves either. But Sentry mode is pretty cool because it caught that guy keying the Tesla the other day. He's famous now. Um, yeah, so there's a lot to it, but you have your life to like work it all out. Once you know the method, it's like, oh, I just bring the method to this new thing that just popped up. What are the individual parts? How do they fit together? What's the contradictions? And then what's the next step after you have that understanding?
Yeah. You mentioned sort of the reaction part and you know, there's a lot of folks that kind of feel stuck in their reactions, stuck in their job, or, stuck in a place they don't want to be. Um, how would autonomy offer to help unstick someone?
Autonomy can't do that. People have to unstick themselves just to get into the course. So, if there's a way we help people get unstuck, it would be through the mindset series, learning how to be anti fragile, learning how to have a growth mindset, learning some critical thinking, learning how to evict your fears. And with that, maybe now you're ready to take a little leap of faith in yourself. And then you start showing up. And once you like make the decision and you start showing up, everything else follows, including your success, because it just means you're not going to give up on yourself. When you want something to get done, you will not quit on yourself. And then as a coach, I know you'll be successful when I know that you're not going to quit on yourself. Then we can just add support or resources or look stuff up. But you have to be able to say, I want that thing and go get that thing without plundering anyone else's freedom. And figuring that out in this world is not so easy because you might be on a path and then it's like pharmaceutical company says they'll pay you $400,000 a year to peddle this new thing. And all you have to do is go to the doctors who are already customers and sign them up. Like it's not a hard job. And if you've ever watched any of those movies recently about like, what was it, the Percocets or whatever, OxyContin, that whole family, you watch how those drug salespeople sell that to the doctors. Like that's reality, right? So if you don't want to be caught up in all that nonsense, you have to have intellectual self-defense to insulate yourself from it. But you also need to know how to make your offer to the market more times than need to be seen for you to be able to support your family. And that's the number of people that you need to go help this year. And if it's You need to help 100 people, then you need to go approach, you want to know the numbers? Um, if you approach 10,000 people, you might get 1,000 people to like look. You might get 100 people to click. You might get 10 people to read, and you might get one person to actually do the thing that like books your new roofing company to come to their house and fix the water coming in and making mold, right?
Mhm.
So it's a big numbers game. And if you know how to crank hundreds of thousands of those, then your needs not so big a deal anymore because you're going to have plenty of people coming your way, and you're probably going to have to refer people to fellow roofing companies to satiate that. And now you're providing them with leads that they don't know how to get for themselves, which is also valuable because you could take down 10 to 15% for each of those referrals. So learning how to make yourself more buoyant than you need, and then lending that buoyancy to other people you want to work and live with, right? Family, friends, colleagues, coworkers, people in your neighborhood, people at, homeschool co-ops and all those good things. Did that answer your question though, or did that tangent?
Oh no, that was great.
Right on.
The advice and coaching that I um, garnered from going through autonomy myself, really helped me gain a perspective. And I've heard you talk before about, going through school and college and not really getting the mentoring skills from that. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about when you first got um, some good mentoring and what life was like, before and after.
I got good mentoring at my first job for a paycheck. For that was Taco Express. My buddy's family owned the restaurant, little tiny restaurant. Maybe had like 15 tables. Um, and I got hired as a dishwasher. They needed a dishwasher. I said, I'll take the job. He said, you don't even know how much it cost, like pays you. I said, my dad told me I need to get a job from someone from other than like the neighborhood. So I went there. I never washed a dish for 5 years, by the way. As soon as I got there, I watched what was going on. I asked his mom, I said, what if you put the deep fryer there? And she's like, Colito Blanco, if you think you know what you're doing, then you get behind the line and do it. And then I got behind the line and I started cooking. I wasn't going to move the hot oil because it was already heated up. But like a little rearrangement, seeing like what they have to do to prep. And it's all like, it's simple in its elements and multiple in its designs. You've got rice, beans, meat, corn tortillas, flour tortillas. You can make all these different things with it, right? So, great business model. And my boss, Mr. C, he uh, he struggled sometimes paying the distributors and the people who drop stuff off, right? So before you know it, everything's like cash or COD or whatever. And then one day I went in and the place is padlocked up. And this is like my high school summer job, and I need this job. So I called him and he's like, oh, yeah, the IRS, taxes, sheriff, this sort of thing. And I asked him how much. It was only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 grand. And this is before I did student painters, right? This is years before that. Um, so I asked my dad, I said, hey, can I put 4 or 5 grand on one of your credit cards and pay you back in 60 days? And I'll pay the interest. He's like, why? I was like, because I don't want to work at Chi Chi's at the mall. I don't want to sell artificial Mexican food. I'm like, this is awesome. The food was awesome. The people were awesome. And all my friends like were going there all the time. Like it was a good job. So I did that. And in order to make my money back, I changed his menu. I raised the prices to where they should have been because they were under like, you get a whole meal for like 99 cents, bro. Like rice, beans, tacos. I was like, 3.95, sir. 3.95. So I controlled the registers and changed the menu prices. And I made my money back before the 60 days. So I paid my dad all the money back and I kept that job for the rest of the summer. And then it was like a year or two after that that I got offered the franchise relationship where again, it was 5 grand that I didn't have, but I borrowed it because I knew how to make it back. I'm going to go to this training. I'm going to go knock on some doors. I'm going to knock on more doors than I need. And I'm going to close 20 deals before spring break or during spring break in order to qualify to open the franchise. Right. And yeah, you take it step by step. You start to discover your courage, fortitude, capabilities, and then you learn to say, you know, I can do anything I set my mind to for as long as I set my mind to it. That's the gist.
Yeah. So
Don't get
those
distracted
experience,
was the point of that, right? If you get distracted, you're no longer going to be doing the thing.
yeah. So those experiences help shape your approach to the future. Um, what would you say are the best skills you learned from that experience?
Dogged tenacity, optimism. Like that dude's his financial world was crushing all the time, right? It was always like something else is broken, something else is, you know, and he always had, he was never in a bad mood, right? And I grew up around people who were never in a bad mood, but they weren't always in a good mood. Whereas he was always like, it's going to work out, you know? And I'm like, well, if he can afford to be that optimistic and attitude of gratitude, I can too. And it made life a lot easier, you know, because the other attitude is like, it's going to be a grind. And I tell you what, it's hard work either way. Which mentality would you rather engage with hard work? You know, the let's turn on the music and get it done, or the I can't believe we have to do this, right?
Yeah.
I spent most of my day doing stuff with, I did activities with excellence that other people would have been too grossed out to do and get her done. So, you know, uh, yeah, learning how to do the things you need to do when you need to do them without making excuses to yourself or other people is indispensable and always necessary and valued in the market. And it's just a beginner skill before you learn high value, you know, service skills like ethical sales.
Yeah. Which can be found, within autonomy. And, I want to speak a little bit. The autonomy community is something I genuinely treasure engaging in. Um, and, getting ready to start a new season. Um, what is your hope for autonomy and the community um, for the future as it grows?
Well, I didn't really have a picture for it at the beginning, but I knew what structure I needed to provide to students for them to get the results, right? So it's kind of like you set up a gym and it's like this activity will build this mental muscle, right? And then it's like people just like to come to hang out at the gym, right? At some point. After the workout, they're still talking to each other. They're still like chatting. So the first thing that was like immediate was it was like a lot of other courses don't have you guys talk to each other. In fact, that'd be like threatening to their whole course structure. Whereas the whole point of this course is everybody gets to know each other on a substantial, meaningful level that is uniform across all the meetings because you're doing the interview exercise and you're both learning the same things about each other and every interview, right? So now you have a better knowledge based relationship than most of the people you go to work or church or sometimes even extended family members don't know these things that are important about you and what you're trying to get done, right? So, in that element, you need a place where people can contact each other and organize dojo workouts. And then it was like they had questions and other graduates or students are answering it before I can even or support can even get to it, right? And then it's like, you know, Doc Rock's like, hey, we're gonna do Monday movie madness, and we're just gonna we just like to get there together and watch some movies, eccentric, eclectic old movies, very rewarding. So it's like there's the purpose, there's the activity, and then there's like the consequences of it. There's all these positive consequences because you're dealing with a bunch of positive people doing positive things and you know adding to each other's value along the way. So as the community grows, um, I want it to be a place where people can continue to return to and get resources and answers when they need to. But also, we got amazing value out of the community during COVID because it's like, okay, so everyone outside's lying to us. What is going on? Where can we get the things that keep us safe? Who's got them and where, how can you send them? Like all that type of stuff was going on all over the place. People helping people, keeping them alive, sharing research papers that they would not let us publish in the clear out there, right? So that was big. And just the fact that, like, it's the community aspect that helped me overcome the fear of you know, I already do the public speaking thing, but the singing thing, you know, it's, and once I did it, like it was gone. You don't get like I didn't, you know, it's not something I take seriously enough to get nervous, I guess. Yeah. So does that answer the question?
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for answering my questions this evening. If it's all right with you, I'd like to open it up to the audience to see if they have any questions for you.
I would love to see if anyone has any questions. If you are a student, a graduate, or just someone kicking a can and seeing what's going on here, that's cool. And generally, people just unmute and participate. But there might be questions being asked through a chat tonight, or if you can type it into the Zoom chat, that could also work. Um, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
They might not have the ability to unmute, so they might have to type it in and then you can read it, Aaron.
Everybody can unmute, and please be or feel welcome to go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask a question. But I was really interested in the part about how you learned your media skills. And for you, you're like, I just made it up. And like, that's the autodidactism that you were able to, conquer all of those aspects of learning that technology. Because it's one thing to do the research and have the knowledge, but it's another thing to find the new printing press, so to speak, and be able to get it out there in the world.
Well, now that you say that, I mean, there was in 2008 this crazy Canadian who showed up at my house with a hockey bag. And when he opened the hockey bag, it was a tripod, camera, lights, microphone. And he did this interview thing that turned into what did it turn into? 2020 hindsight? Or no, it was probably when I was in Hijacking Humanity. Anyway, once I saw that Paul could do that, I was like, he's technical. I could learn how to do that stuff. Yeah, it's just a matter of acquiring the right equipment. And then if you do your research, you find the right equipment, then you find it's really expensive. You can't afford it. So what do you do? Do you use that as an excuse not to get started? No, you buy some cheap equipment, you go use it to make some money, and you buy the nice equipment, whatever you want, because you went and did the thing, you know? So I only bought equipment twice. I bought the thing that I used to go make the money. And then once I made the money, I went and bought the real equipment. And then I stopped going out with my equipment to make money and started focusing on doing what I wanted to do with my equipment.
Definitely. And like, how many times did you wreck a production? Like, for example, it's you don't just you have to go
Editors,
there.
like editors will tell you every production is wrecked when we get it, and we
Mhm.
save every production with our editing.
Yeah, right.
Ask an editor, that should be a t-shirt right there.
A better question would be like how long did it take you to edit the ultimate history lesson, or like how long did it take you to edit State of Mind, the psychology of control?
So to answer my wife's question, Ultimate History Lesson with John Taylor Gatto was shot in July of 2011, and then I started working on the edit in August, and then by September I was not doing well. And Tony Myers came up and he's like, "Bro, you can't even see what you're editing. Like it won't play at real time. It'll be like blip, and then you do something. It's like blip, and it's like he's like, you can't even watch what you're editing. He's like, I don't know how you're editing in this situation, but I was. You just couldn't see it, and I didn't have an HD screen that would play. Like even if I had the computer, I didn't have the screen that would play the thing. So anyway, he said, I'm going to build you a computer, and I'm going to get you a screen so we can edit this film. And then I went back to editing, and I got it done right before John's birthday in December. So I finished it. We made 5 copies, so it's like 5 DVD set, and we made them all by hand. And you got to make the inserts, and you got to get the label on the DVD. So I sent him like 50 copies, Gatto, to his farm in upstate New York, thinking he's going to love it. He's going to reach out to us. Nothing. So then by January, I'm like, well, maybe I need to send it to the city. Maybe he didn't go to the farm upstate. Maybe they spend the winter in the city. So I made another 50 copies, handmade, sent it to his apartment in New York City. I heard nothing. A year and a half goes by since we had filmed the Ultimate History Lesson. And then we found out that John had a stroke like 2 weeks afterwards and was in rehab and like lost in the hospital system for some time. And then we found out, we got him out of there. We took him 6 appointments to the dentist to get new dentures because you can't be a man of his stature without having your dentures. That rehab place lost him. So Lisa and I, Went many, many trips into New York to help John in a variety of situations right up to the end. And he and Janet are both dearly departed now.
Yeah, thanks. But
Hmm.
a lot of the people in the freedom movement, right, you just start using the stuff and you learn as you go and you help other people. You show up at the event, they're like, yeah, stand next to that camera, and make sure all this stuff goes right. But I think it's another element of learning production that people maybe not don't realize that is out there for them, and they can just, you don't have to go to a college to learn how to do technical stuff.
Well, if you go to college, you still won't learn what you need to learn today for today's market. It's silly nonsense what they teach people even to this day. So yeah, I mean the point is if you want to ever go from being a consumer to being someone who has active literacy skills and can give back in larger amounts, I mean that's the big value exchange. If you don't know how to do that third step where you articulate, where you write a plan, where you write a document, where you make a framework, where you communicate a bigger idea to someone else, like you're going to be stuck in consumer mode and paycheck mode and not really ever scratching the surface on your productivity or your potential because you don't know how to output yet. And it makes sense. Schooling, why would they teach us to compete with their kids? Like it's the ruling elite. They designed a system so that their kids are not threatened by no matter what we learn from the school system. They will still own the system. So I think we could do better. And Gatto thought we could do better. And we're doing better, few minds at a time.
And my question about the editing was really to point out that you made a lot of mistakes, but you learned from all of them and you were able to fix many of them in the editing. So the editing of that took many months. But if you had to edit something like that today, because you've learned from all the mistakes that you made during the production of those earlier productions,
Be easy
it's a lot
peasy
less time.
because I
Right.
would I would make so many less in-camera mistakes that had to be fixed in post-production. Like, no one notices, but in hour 2, I am poorly framed and out of focus. But I figured no one's going to notice because everyone's waiting to see what the other guy says. And no one has noticed. So there's like mistakes you can live with, and then there's mistakes that disrupt their attention and drop the ball and, act like a hole in your bucket. You don't want those ones. You want to know how to fix those.
Yeah, as long as you get the audio, pretty much you can do any kind of thing with it.
Audio is paramount. It is 75% of any viewing experience. I can show you a black screen for 2 minutes, but if the narration is clear, you'll keep watching. If I show you crystal clear 8K video and the audio is all garbled, you'll probably turn it off. So, knowing that you have to have a sound bed first in order to make your production allows you the redundancy so you can end up with clear sound and then you can make whatever pictures you want go with the audio.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to ask Richard a question?
Yeah.
What's up, Seamus?
Hey, Richard. I have a perception question for you. I've been enjoying watching State of Mind and The Minds of Men recently,
Hmm.
and I like how you track historical sources. I heard about an experiment where somebody raised, I think, a cat in an environment where there were only horizontal lines and no vertical lines, and then they released the cat out of that environment, and the cat would bump into things like table legs because they just weren't trained into the cat's person. Have you heard of that experiment?
No, but it seems cruel, unusual, and severely expensive. I want to know how much
Yeah,
that little
yeah.
experiment cost and who said that that experiment was worth more than the homeless veterans or other people starving in the streets these days. Like, I don't know. We have the resources to do the right things. It's just we have people in control of resources who want to do other things like mouse utopia and cat experiments and fleas on beagle heads and boxes. That's a famous Fauci one.
Cat.
Yeah.
Whether that experiment actually happened or not, but it's something. I mean, it illustrates a principle, but and I'd love to share it as an example, but I can't claim that it's valid because I don't have a source. So,
That's okay. You can share it with the caveat that no one's saying it's valid.
okay, that's smart. Yeah, Yeah, I like how I've heard you say sometimes, I wouldn't want to say that, and then you say the thing.
Well, I wouldn't want to say that's not how I talk, but it might be sometimes.
It is an actual experiment. It's the I don't know if it's Hubble and Wiesel, Wiesel, Wiesel. I don't know how you say that.
Okay.
The cat horizontal line experiment conducted by Hubble and Wiesel demonstrated that kittens raised in environments with only horizontal lines developed a visual system biased towards perceiving horizontal lines, while those raised with vertical lines become biased towards vertical lines. Anyway, it's real.
Israel. Oh my God. Uh-huh. Wow, wow, wow. Now that leads me to an adjoining question.
Sure.
Um, I'm a great admirer of some of the work of Greg Braden, but I recently, he's on side in terms of opposing the amalgamation of human bodies with technology and the possibility of, as he puts it, us losing our humanity or our humanness.
Sure.
But when it comes to the question of Israel and Palestine, he's right out to lunch. So I started watching your underground history of Israel and Palestine last night. Are you familiar with Greg Braden?
Yes, I am. And did you watch it on Rumble, the underground history of Israel Palestine?
I'm watching it on Odyssey.
Oh, nice, nice. All right, because those are like the only two places that's out there
Yeah,
for
yeah,
savvy consumers who want to know such things. It might have some. Look, I look at that information in that content in that presentation. If the people on our side in America, especially people who are in the Trump administration or America First, if they caught wind of that and what's going on, I don't know what they'd do. They would have syncope. It would completely like smash a bunch of their worldview, but it could bring peace. Peace is not going to happen until people understand like the larger perspective that I'm pointing out there. And I'm open to
yeah,
being wrong. I'm not saying I'm absolutely right. I'm just saying no one has presented evidence to the contrary, nor will they even try. They will just say you're sticks and stones and throw names at you, right? Uh,
yeah.
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That used to be a thing
Mm,
before sensitivity and safe spaces, wokeness.
yeah. Before wokeism.
If for your words to hurt me, I have to give you permission for your words to hurt me, right?
Mm,
And we usually reserve those permissions, like our switches are off for loved ones. We take whatever they say, we take it literally. But if I'm some guy down the street says something and I don't know him and he doesn't know me, I don't have to take that seriously because it's like, I don't know, it's probably about what just happened to him before he bumped into me and not so much about what I'm doing. So, yeah, you got to process it and thoughtfully respond. That's the gig. So, thank you, Seamus, for delving into the Israel Palestine history. And if you find
yeah,
any errors or places I can improve it, pass those along, please.
yeah. So far, so good.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Richard.
Uh-huh. Who else has a question, comment, complaint, conundrum, complacency? Good. It means I explained everything cogently and coherently, and it reached your consciousness.
Hey, Richard.
Howdy. What's up, James?
Um, I'm just working. Sitting in a truck, watching the deer.
Good.
Public safety, keeping Montour Falls safe. But I just wanted to know when it kind of dawned on you that I want to put this in the right words. Was that you could do more without depending on the system, so to speak. And I know you talk about painting and all that stuff, but
I mean, the doing more had limitations as far as like when you're doing more for an employer, even if you're in the like sales role and stuff like that, like doing more still has its limitations. Whereas when you're being your own boss and you're self-reliant and you're captain and master and commander of your own ship, there's a lot of things that need maintenance. And then you realize, I don't know too much about that thing that I have to fix. Let me look it up. So you're learning about new things all the time to overcome challenges. And then once you get like all the utilities, hookups and everything underway, then there's always something trying to block you from attaining your goal, right? You're trying to get something done and something else wants to get in there. And now you have a choice. Can I get frustrated or should I show patience? Sometimes patience is just switching gears and doing something productive while you wait for someone else who's not so good managing their time, right? So I think, um, I mean, there were several times during college when I learned that, but there was a time during my first job out of college. So I was working for a software startup company in Princeton, New Jersey, and it was very much swimming with sharks. It was very cutthroat, a lot of rumor mill type of nonsense going on that is not helping young Richard like focus on his sales. Um, if you're if you're a young, upwardly mobile person like myself, and you go into a new sales bullpen room, so there's like, I don't know, 20 desks in a room with no cubicles, just all desks. So everybody's in everybody else's business, right? Um, they had sales contests every week, and so I'm like, oh, this, whatever the prize is for the sales contest, I just knew that was mine at the end of the week. That doesn't always please like your coworkers. So then they would start pranking me, right? So the first prank they pulled, they took the ball out of my mouse. Can't do anything on a computer, and try finding the mouse ball. Right now, there's sales executives who have offices and drawers full of mouse balls because they've stolen everybody's. Because it's the first prank they play, right? Then the next big prank they played was they took my entire desk out of the office and put everything on the floor. And they want me to come in because I'm working a West Coast shift. I had a West Coast territory. So they all get there at like 9. I get there at like 10:30. So everybody in the bullpen in the sales room has seen the prep, the setup for the prank on Rich. And they want to see my reaction, right? And so I walk in, I see what's going on. I went right over, sat on the floor, and started doing calls. And then everybody went back to work because I didn't blow up or have a reaction or cry or whatever they thought was going to happen didn't. And that's very important when people are trying to get your goat, that you don't have a goat to be gotten. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry you went through that trouble, but now you're going to see what happens because I'm the top salesperson. So when the sales manager comes into the room, Grove, come to my office right now. Oh, what's going on, Brad? Where's your desk? Brad, I could have sworn I left it here last night, but I came in this morning. I don't know. Somebody might have moved it. I just sat down and started being productive. Then he went out and found the pranksters who were not only not doing their job, but preventing top salesperson from doing his job properly. And that guy read the riot act. And then no more pranks on Rich ever again. So it wasn't because I had to fight back. It's probably because I didn't have to react. And so it was like things like that that let me know it's like there's going to be people who don't like you being successful or whatever. They've got it all at a comfortable pace. I understand. I wasn't trying to threaten anybody. I was just trying to do my best, right, at the thing. Um, Learning how to go with the ebb and flow of it and knowing that you're not going to please everybody all the time and you shouldn't even try. The people who will be pleased by your excellence and good work are the people you need to know and spend time with. And those are the people who probably pay you for valuable utility based activities. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it's very good. As far as it's not what's done to you, it's how you react. And I wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like in Little League, I was the guy that got kicked out of a game, 12 years old.
I was the guy that got hit by the pitch all the time. Had a lot of
Leaning
those.
into it.
I wasn't trying to. Sometimes those young kids aren't such good throwers, and I wasn't so quick on picking up that it was going to hit me. I think that's how that worked.
Yeah,
Slow,
it's
slow learner, but consistently learning. So whatever
going
the
up there and
pace
planning,
is,
planning to get out of the way.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, you answered my question. It was great.
right on.
Another thing, Seamus, if you're still listening, Peace Propaganda in the Promised Land is another really good movie about the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Propaganda in the promised land. Okay, thanks.
Peace Propaganda in the Promised Land. If you haven't seen it, it's a really good movie, documentary.
Cool, thanks.
I'm writing it down too. Promised Land. I don't have it
It's
on me right now, but I'll give it to you later. Yep, I got you.
yeah, it's a little older. It's 2007, somewhere around there. But it's a good movie. It's a good documentary. Anyway, I appreciate autonomy. It's kind of nice having this place to come to. Good people. I
It's
call
like
this on the
Cheers. It's like
reservation.
Cheers without the alcohol. Everyone knows your
Yeah,
name.
right.
They're always glad you came. And I won't
Yeah,
sing
it's
the rest
nice.
of the theme song because that's not in my repertoire.
You'll have to wait till you're on stage
I'll do it live.
with the speakers behind you.
I'll do it live, bro. You're right. That'll be one of the ones. Just like Sweet Caroline, how everyone will like get into it when you sing the Cheers
Yeah,
song.
they will.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And
Yeah. Thank you for being courageous and intrepid and unmuting and asking a question.
I'm not afraid to ask questions. So
Good. Good.
I want good questions, though. I don't want to just say something just to hear you talk. So
Nice. That's
I
good because
appreciate it, though.
I'm not a creepy doll. The wind up dolls I used to have.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
All right. Have a
Don't
great night.
anyone
Thank you.
prank me with one of those. I don't need a little Richie doll with a,
Just don't
just hanging out
react.
the back. Don't react. That's
Just
it.
say thank you and don't react. Hey, I
Say thank you
appreciate
very
this. Thank
much.
you very much.
Yes.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, James.
All right. Bye now.
Anyone else?
I'm gonna.
Yeah. Comments, questions, complaints, conundrums, comprehensions.
I have a question.
I might have an answer. Let's see if we have it in inventory.
I have never heard this story, so you may have said it and I just missed it. But what was that light bulb galvanizing moment where you said, I have to do an autonomy course? This is what I have to do. I'm going to create an autonomy community. And what was that light bulb moment? Like, where did that seed start?
Well, it starts with having skills that pay the bills and then finding out that the reason that most other people don't have those skills is a function of people subverting our education system and making it into a system of schooling. So as I scroll back here in time in the peace revolution history, the date and time of your answer will become apparent. It is episode 8, and there it is. So November 8th, 2010. No, let's see. October 10th, 2010. Parrhesia, curriculum for intellectual self-defense. The need for a comprehensive conscious curriculum was the gist, and it was an hour and 13 minutes. Whoa, I gotta get that out of my ear. That's loud. That's some loud stuff. All right, so that was where I codified the idea and said the absence of the critical thinking methodologies, the absence of the how to learn anything methodology, the knowledge of how to use that to solve high value problems, and all that other good stuff. It starts with parrhesia, which means to speak freely. And I was speaking freely to a former colleague called George Clayton Johnson, who wrote for the Twilight Zone, and he wrote the pilot episode of a little show called Star Trek. He wrote Ocean's 11. He wrote Logan's Run, a whole bunch of other stuff. But that was me pitching him on the idea, and then George, Jan Irvin, Paul Verge, and I worked on a script called The Noble Lie. That was like a Hollywood cinematic version of indoctrination, encountering these tools, learning to use them, taking up some self-responsibility in society, and then like dissolving dystopia and reintroducing freedom into the world, which was like kind of what we were doing with the documentaries and the podcasts, but we were trying to get that story to a bigger audience. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. It was the seed started in 2010 and it took 10 years for the actual course to form and launch. So it was, a long time growing to what it is now. But the best things always have to have the firmest foundation.
Yeah, and they need to have the need to be brought about. So the ideas collected, I organized them, and then at a certain point, I had enough where I like conceived of, all right, I could offer a course, it could offer these skills. There's 2,000 note cards, they're organized. I can do it like in 12, 15. It took 17 weeks to get through it the first time. And I made the offer in 2018 and pre-sold it at a discount, and I had enough people that were interested that it's like, okay, you buy it at a discount, and I'll come back in a year with the product. I'll have it built by 2019, and then we launched in 2019, and that's how we got to season 13.
Well, I am super grateful that you did because I love the community and I contribute as much as I can and I will continue for as long as it's standing.
The warmth of your contributions and all the social activities that you help out with, you're very well respected by your colleagues as well as management here. So thank you, Holly.
Anytime, man.
Doc Rock was clapping for you. He's sending hearts over there. Any other questions for this session? I feel like I've done a lot of the talking. Maybe I should do some of the listening. Well, reopen, close tab. There we go. All right, so we do have some things to do before we split. I got clips from last week's GTW popping up. I'm trying to get rid of so I can get to the things that I needed to get to, which was if you haven't taken the autonomy primer, it is the complete transparency and behind the scenes of what goes on here in autonomy so you can make an informed decision. And we also have a map, right? To solve problems, you become aware, you become informed, you get your questions answered, you make decisions and take action. In autonomy speak, basically, you see something that says, oh, I could use that. And then you take the primer course, and then you talk to a grad, and then you can outgrow your status quo. It's like a puzzle that you have to put together for yourself. You have to solve it for yourself to get in, which is why when Aaron asked me one of those questions, there's some things we don't do. You have to do some things in order to get into the course. When you do that something for yourself, that's part of the whole thing. Learning to do that thing you just did for yourself, taking a step toward the opportunity that you wanted to grab and actually grabbing and holding on and doing something with it, and then repeat and then do it bigger, better over and over throughout the rest of your life. But learning how to see opportunity, make an informed decision, thoughtfully respond, take action, and then get the benefits from that, and then keep cranking that widget everywhere you go, because that's the value of people you get to know, getting transacted. Good. I'm glad there's no disagreement on that part. The autonomy screenings, I think we're done until summer, but there are more activities going on. Let's see, we've got meet and greet coming up. We got the first lecture on April 4th. If you have not made your way through becoming informed, scheduling a call, or watching the primer, you're missing out. There's opportunity cost to missing out. You've already been experiencing a lot of opportunity cost thus far. Maybe this is the right time for you to join the others who are going to line up and start going through the paces of season 13. And it starts nice and slow. There's nothing mandatory. It's low pressure. But it'll be easy for you to start seeing value in yourself and recognizing the value in all your other classmates who likewise just solved this puzzle in time to get into the training like it works every season. So it's kind of cool. It's like, I don't know if you ever saw, if you're old enough to have seen The Last Starfighter. It's about this kid who plays the game and the best player on Earth then gets selected for like whatever the intergalactic situation was back in 1987. But it was a very compelling movie, and it's kind of like that. You're solving a puzzle, and then you're getting to level up and see the other people and work and play with the other people who leveled up alongside you. So it's an individual step in, and then there's a whole bunch of people who took individual steps, and that's how they get into the curriculum and the community. Aaron, I think you did a great job. You were on time. You were organized. Were you nervous? Was there any difficulty in conducting this interview?
No, no. I was looking forward to it, Richard. It's a pleasure to have got a chat with you, and yeah, I look forward to many more seasons under your tutelage.
Well, I appreciate it. And you conducted yourself very professionally. I found the questions to be insightful. And that was like one of the easier things that I had to do today. So thank you for not making it like one more thing to fix because life has enough unknowns and unpredictability about it. I like that this was a nice, cozy little meeting, intimate meeting with only 20, 25 people. Yeah, this is where you get to experience the genuine, authentic nature of autonomy, graduates and students in the community, as well as, you get to hear me without a tie and suit on. So that's a bonus too. Leah, were there any other logistical or administrative, like things that we need to conduct during this meeting? Things coming
Yeah,
up, things they need to know about, links they should click, or anything like that?
totally. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sunday is Autonomy Landing Pad. So for all of the new season 13 students, they're going to play icebreaker games and hang out, and everybody's welcome. If you're already a member,
And it's not
please
mandatory.
join.
So,
No, nothing.
yeah.
Yeah. And that'll be really cool. And then the following Friday is the Autonomy Worldwide meet and greet, which will be great with meeting the graduates. And then we're going to do the welcome celebration right after that. It starts a little earlier than usual. It's going to start at 7.
Yeah, she's telling me so I'm not 2 hours
I
late or
am. I'm
you
actually
guys,
making a
because it
list
happened
for
last
you.
year. Because all my meetings for this joint, presentation goes on at 9 p.m. all the time, and then one night it's like 7 p.m. So I got set special alarms so I don't get caught off guard like
It was
last
8
time.
p.m. last
Yeah,
year, or
last
last
year.
season.
Yeah, well,
And but this time it's going to be 7 because we're going to do like the Grant made this really great presentation just for autonomy. So I have a feeling we're going to hear the autonomy song by
so we
Grant
get
Presence.
so we get the concert with Grant Presents, and prior to that, we'll meet the graduates on Sunday Q&A
Yeah,
slot, which still starts at noon.
yeah.
You're not going to be changing that on me. That's where the new season 13 students, that's where you get to take the stage if you want to. If you want to be on video and unmute, cool. If you just want to unmute, cool. If you just want to wallflower it, cool. It's all good. You'll find your own pace and your own stride.
Yeah, and then the following Friday, the lectures begin.
Well,
And they're
all aboard.
starting at 8 o'clock. They're also moving back an hour to 8 o'clock.
It's all aboard time. Train's going to
Yes.
leave the station.
Yeah.
And that's good because I always use plane as a metaphor for Grand Theft World episodes, so I have to use train. Train's taking off. Season 13. When I first taught this course, I never thought we'd do 13 seasons. I was only concerned about getting through season 1. I was like, well, how am I going to do, because I was putting the presentation together. I had all the cards organized, but I would make the slides every week. So each week I'm putting together 200 new slides for the lecture. And it was a good pace for the first season. And then it was like more people want it. So we'll do a season 2. And then we've just been doing that for years now, going from one season to the next. Because there's a lot of people who need this training. There's more people than we can ever serve. And so it's about finding the right ones who make the best community and then letting them enroll if they want to. So thank you, Leah, for the help. Thank you, Aaron, for the excellent interview today. Are there any further questions for this meeting before we conclude? Going once, going twice. All right, good. I was out of tea anyway, so this is a good time to conclude. I will see some of you on Sunday. I will see some of you on Sunday night. Many of you next week for the meet and greet and so on and so forth. And thank you guys all for showing up, for contributing, for making this a special interview, because not too often do I get asked those type of questions. Most of the time it's about other stuff I've done in the past 20 years. It was fun recalling, first grade baseball and other opportunities of snow plowing and grass cutting back in the day. Those are good memories. I mean, it's not like I look back at it as work. I look back at those things as fond memories of my growth and development. So I hope you
Well,
guys
I do
can
have
learn.
one more
Yeah,
question. If
go
it's
ahead.
who does the intro, the song on Grand Theft World?
That artist's name is Joe Double. So it's JO-DBL, like decibel, might be even like Joe
That's a good
Decibel.
song.
And
That's a good song.
he lives in Georgia. He, his wife, and his daughter drove up to New Hampshire. I met them at Pork Fest last year. We did karaoke together, he and I. It was a blast. And then he's made some other new songs since then, and he made the video for the Tragedy and Hope song too. So it made it easier to play it at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, it's a really good song. I like it's like old jazz.
Well, and I like I like being included with not only posthumous authors whose books I have valued, but contemporary, heroes of the freedom movement. So,
Well, you do belong there.
If I do
I
belong
like
there,
that you're
I
being
earned
humble. I
my
like that you're
place.
being humble. I like that you're being humble, but
Yeah,
you do belong
it was
there.
nice to be included. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to say. I mean, to him, not to me, really, but
Oh, for sure, dude. I gave him a big hug because I was on Luke Radowski's show in this tent with it doesn't matter. The other guest that was wearing the coonskin hat. Jeremy Kaufman from Piss You Off First Amendment people in the New Hampshire area. And I walked over right off. I just got off camera and he's like, Rich, I'm Joe Double. I made that song. I was like, dude, what's up? And then I saw he's like with his wife and his daughter. I was really impressed that they would travel all that way from Georgia to New Hampshire to meet the others. And we had a blast all week. And looking forward to hanging out with them again soon.
yeah,
Good question. Yeah, it was a good question.
It's a great song.
Yeah, Seinfeld says always end on a high note, and I think that was it right there.
Joe Double.
Joe Double, JO-DBL.
Okay. Definitely a mic drop moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Drop your mic.
That's right.
Thanks, Richard.
All right. Yeah, thank you all for showing up today. I'll see you soon, and thank you all for tuning in and not dropping out. Peace.
And thank you, Richard. Have a good night.
Yeah, see you guys in season 13.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Have a good one.
Good to see you.